Hello, my name is Geoffrey Gunn, and I'm a policy advisor and geographer at the International Institute for Sustainable Development. And I challenge you for AquaHacking Lake Winnipeg to look at Watershed Investment. So Lake Winnipeg, as I'm sure you're aware, and our whole watershed has some problems. We have algal blooms and eutrophication causing scummy green goo to show up on our beaches. We're threatened by invasive species like zebra mussels. We have the emerging concern of microplastics, and we have persistent issues with delivering clean drinking water to all of our communities. But these problems all have something in common. They all relate to the watershed, the area that delivers water into Lake Winnipeg, and the areas that collect all the contaminants and all the issues we have as humans. This area is huge, especially for Lake Winnipeg. It stretches across 2 countries, Canada, the United States, 4 Canadian provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, and 3 American states, North and South Dakota, and Minnesota. What happens with watersheds is that problems are cumulative. They come from all of us. We all have a responsibility to the watershed. No one person is purely responsible for these problems, but we all share in it together. So how do we make an impact? How do we affect our clean water? How do we make our water better? We're challenging you to find ways to encourage more investment in our watersheds. We want you to help concerned citizens invest money in the protection of Lake Winnipeg and its watershed and track the impact of their investments. We want to invest in solutions as a society. We all want to solve water problems, but we need money to do that. We need resources. And we need to attract, grow, and sustain investments from all different sources, whether it's an individual who cares about an issue donating on the internet, whether it's a government grant with people controlling the public purse who want to understand what the investment is doing, or if it's corporations or investment portfolios looking at green bonds as a way to diversify their investments in all of society. Every investor, whether it's you or a large corporation, wants to see impact. And what we want to do is connect that impact to actions in the environment. One of my favorite examples of a collaboration that connects impact on the ground to investments and investors who care is an example from the Regen Network, a business based in the United States. They worked with the Rainforest Foundation and the community of Buenjardin de Calaru in northern Peru to protect the Amazon rainforest and to make sure that the local community had the resources to keep that protection going. So what they did is they used a blockchain-based system developed by the Regen Network to solicit donations from people all around the world. They used a smart contract, a common term in the blockchain community, as well as satellite data to validate the impact. What would happen is a landowner would be interested in protecting a piece of the land, and the community would be interested in helping out. If I were to donate some money towards protecting this area of land, that money would go into a pot to sit for a year or so. After a year, when a satellite makes an overpass, that satellite could tell us exactly whether rainforest was still there or whether it had been removed. If it was still there, that pot of money opens up and the community has even more money and more resources to keep protecting more of the rainforest. This way, you have technology, you have trust, you have science, and you have community involvement, all working together to make an impact on the ground. What we're seeing now is a very exciting time. We're seeing sensors everywhere, from the satellites above to the cell phones in your pocket, to low-cost sensors available to put into the environment to watch what's going on. Connected to the internet, creating an Internet of Things that spans the globe. This is incredibly interesting because we can actually track in real time or near real time what's going on. This is creating a digital water revolution. A really exciting example of this is the city of Stockholm in Sweden. The city has invested tremendous amounts of resources in a 4G LTE connected sensor system deployed from their source water, where they get their drinking water, through to the distribution network, in sewers, in stormwater systems, and right in the receptacle for their wastewater. What they can see is they can predict what's happening to their source water. If water quality is degraded, they can take action right away. If there's a leak in a water main, they can predict that that's going to happen and solve it before it becomes a problem. And they can see what their total impact is as an entire city on the environment. We've also seen another great example in California. AquaHacking is a California tech company that's created a water investment portfolio, allowing people to invest in an entire watershed in the Monterey Bay area. It allows investors to not just see what their investment's doing at a scale, whether in a stream or a stormwater basin, or to see what's happening at the very bottom end where there's endangered species and a very sensitive marine ecosystem. They report regularly to investors what's going on, and that allows investors to make sure they're having an impact. Globally, the environmental community is asking ourselves this question: are we making a difference? Are we having impact on the world? Recently in Canada, we had a publicly funded program spend $4.4 million in watershed-based nutrient management projects. An audit after the project found it only reduced phosphorus by less than 1% across the entire basin. Now, is that a win or is that a loss? Even scientists don't exactly know if the water would have actually gotten worse over that time had we not done all these projects, or did it make very little difference altogether? Because we don't know, we cannot sustain some of these projects because the public and the people controlling the public purse are unsure of what's happening. This is a big problem in Canada. A new WWF report just found out that most of Canada's watersheds are so under-monitored and so misunderstood that we don't know their actual overall health. We don't know what's happening in our environments, so how can we measure whether we're making a positive impact or not? What I want you to take away from this is that we need trustworthy observations, the impact investments. Because water is connected, these are complicated systems. So break it down to a small little piece. Try and prove that change is happening, and in doing so, attract more investment. What I want you to do in this challenge is bite off a little or bite off a lot. Think about a sensor that's trustworthy, reliable, and can survive Canadian winters. Build a sensor that takes in open source code, or build a system that takes in existing data to use as a trustworthy validation source. Find investors, connect people to systems on the ground. And finally, think about communities. Everyone's interested in getting involved, and when all of us are watching an environmental system, we can make a trustworthy assessment of what's happening. I'll leave you with the challenge once more. Help us all, help us concerned citizens invest money in the protection of Lake Winnipeg. Help people track their investment impact, and help build a better, stronger, and more sustainable environment. For more information, you can check out these references. And finally, we want to thank all of the people making this possible. If you have any questions, please contact me or my colleague Madeline Stanley on Slack. I hope you take up our challenge. Thank you very much.